Salam, everybody. Welcome again to yet another edition of Isaac Moirore YouTube channel, a series of African journey that enlightens you about your identity and also helps you to love yourself as an African and understand your background so that you can understand the current situation you're in and you're able to be empowered to surge forward with an informed decision. So we continue to appreciate all the people who are giving us their continued support and the new people who are also liking our this initiative. And of course, I have a lot of people on Twitter and through IG who have really requested that we do a promotion of this series. Thank you so much. May we continue to support each other. Like I said, all my socials are Isaac Mirori, and my YouTube channel is Isaac Mirori. So welcome aboard. The last episode we looked at the African kingdoms, and we looked at how they were dismantled by our foreign brothers and sisters, better yet, the ancestors of our European brothers and sisters. And we also looked at how they divided Africa and how during the scramble for Africa, and how that really affected us, even in the quote-unquote independence period and post-independence period, which we had a conclusion that this is pseudo independence. It is not real liberation of the people. We continue to look at some of information about Al-Kebulan, or if you like, Africa. And we continue also to identify how Europeans understood Africans before the age and the space of history when we ended up having the same lingua franca. So before language was common between Europeans and Africans, Africans were thought not to be pure human beings, or not fully evolved. Unfortunately, among Africans also we have that stereotype, and my estimation and submissions are that this is a human limitation issue, and so it may be ratio at the international level, but in the local level it is tribal, and so it is not unique to a specific human group. Africa has been known by literally everybody, and has been recorded in histories around the world. But today I want us to look at the epistemology of the word Africa, which when we began in our early episodes, we said that the word Africa meant subjects of Africanus. Africanus was a governor during the Roman Empire who was entrusted with the Maghreb on behalf of the empire. And the people who lived there, the Berbers, the Tuaregs, and so on and so forth, were probably not known so well because of the language barrier and also interest the empire did not take any interest in knowing the people and developing them, but rather uh, just to hedge out part of Africa for their own benefit. And so the scramble of Africa is also not a unique piece of history. It is just a repetition, but in a more well organized manner and a unified way. And so, probably the reason why Italians did not get anything in Africa is because they had already benefited during the Roman Empire historical melee, and also even the Greeks, who represents the Eastern Europeans. They never did so because they also enjoyed Africa for a long time. In fact, the early merchants who invested in Africa heavily, especially in agriculture, before the missionaries, were the Greeks. So, like in Kenya, the Greeks were known to be large scale farmers and cash crop producers, like Sisal, where I live, used to be a farm of Greek in a place called Juja. It really began from almost the CBD. There's a place called Makongeni along Jogoo Road, and the farm stretched all the way through Thika Road, a stretch of almost 40 kilometers to a place called Makongeni, just past Thika town. And this was a farm belonging to a merchant from Greece. You go to Laikipia, you'll find a lot of ranches that belong and or belonged to Greeks. You also go to Voi, you'll find the family of the Criticos, who owns thousands of acreage of a sisal farm. But that is not what we are going to talk about today. Today we're going to look at the word Africa, and probably, if time allows us, we're going to look at the origin of the name Kenya. Our history dates back during the kingdoms and the kingdoms that interacted with the outside fellow human beings who lived outside Africa. And among the names that are synonymous to the name Africa that are local includes a name like Africa. Africa was a Nilo-Saharan term that meant a birthplace. This is Apri, the birthplace, and Ka, which meant towards. So it is towards a birthplace. This is Africa, and the name was shared among the dynasties that we had talked about in our last episodes, which includes the Puntland dynasties of the Tigrayans in Ethiopia, and the Nubians in the Sudan, and of course the Egyptians, the Kemites. So it is also a word that was shared by Phoenicians, and Phoenicians are Cushitic African people who are also descendants of the Canaanites, and so this name was common among these people, and especially in Carthage. So there is a very big connection between the man who was called Africanus, and so probably the original name probably had come from Africa, from the word Africa. And probably we know languages differ. There are people who use who replace uh, some consonants with others. Like for example, there are people who replace the letter F with B. There are people who replace letter L with R. So it could have been uh, one of those reasons in our guessing, or rather, if you like, hypothesis. But also the Greeks used to refer Africans as Ethiopians, which meant people with burnt faces. I don't know why they only saw faces. Probably people during those ages used to wear clothes that covered almost the whole of their bodies and only exposing faces. I wonder why there wasn't anything that described our woolly hair, you know. And so, like it has always been claimed by many people, uh, some of these European societies understood things from a color perspective, and probably Africans are never interested in color because, like I said last time, we were not fascinated or astonished to see white people. Like I said, we had the experience of having albinos amongst ourselves, and white people were just another group of albinos, only that this time there were very many at the same time in a particular place. So basically, that may be the origin of the name Africa, and I don't think there are a lot of contention about the word Africa, but like we always say in this program, Africa is a late naming of our continent, and that's why it is thought to have come during the time of the Roman Empire. Um, and also, despite not only the Phoenicians who had a word similar to Africa, but also the Kemites. The Kemites, or rather, if you like, the Egyptians, also had a word almost similar to that, but that was a Afriu, and so it is different. It is different. Afriu is a bit different, but the meaning is the same. It refers to a birthplace, and so on and so forth. Coming back home to Kenya, the word Kenya is most likely another language difference, because Kenya, and especially if we take Kenya to mean the mountain in Kenya, the origin of the word may have come from a misspelling by a community from the Kamba nation, because in the Kamba nation they don't have R, letter R, and also they have a different way of pronouncing the letter G. So what is believed is that Mount Kirinyaga, because that was the original name of the mountain that we call Mount Kenya today, and it is a very mouthful word for a Kamba person, and it is highly likely that in their pronunciation of the word, they pronounced it as Kenya, Kenya, and so because they have a problem with R and G following each other with a vowel I, and so this may be the origin of the word Kenya. So again, it is not a local name. It's a name that came out of accident, but it's a name that we use anyway. Um, with regard to the African name, Greeks have also had a name they call us Afriki, and it's just a direct translation. But I like the Arabic description of Africans because they say they used to call us the Bilas of Sudan, and the Bilas means black people. So definitely, it's not only the face, so they recognize the whole person. And of course, other names that have been used like Kush, Kemi, Punt in records of history. And so I think it is also important for you to look for the epistemology of the name of your country and probably your capital city, which are highly likely not the original names of those places. And in this, I believe that you're going to find your roots and you'll be able to understand why you are who you are today and whether you're proud of yourself or not, what is the appropriate action that you are likely to take for you to be happy and be proudly African. So thank you so much. Let us meet next time. We shall now enter into the first chapter, which we are going to discuss about education. Thank you and have a good